Yo, how's it going, Aslam class? Today is the 27th of January 2021, and we're going to start off with our maths lesson today. Now, the date, as always, we write in number form, so it's 27, 1, and 21. And as always, with our maths lessons, we always start with our arithmetic. So let's get our slides up. That's not today's date. I'm past it. Here we go, the 27th. So here we have our arithmetic questions for today. Again, don't spend overly too long on this. 10 minutes is more than enough time to do these arithmetic questions. You've got 10 questions. Give yourself a minute per question. Some questions will take you a couple of seconds to answer. So, you know, it shouldn't take you longer than 10 minutes. So pause the video and then we'll go through the answers together. Okay, welcome back. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can see what I'm doing up on my board here. And I'm going to make it so I can see the questions, but you won't be able to. So first question, nice and easy. 4 times 10 gives us 40. Nice one. What is a quarter of 20? Now, a quarter, because we're doing fractions, okay, remember yesterday's lesson, or this week's lessons, that a fraction is when we take a whole and we split it into even parts. So if we were to take a quarter, what number do we think that is? Yeah, you're correct. A quarter is when we take a number and we divide it by 4. Okay, so our whole number here is 20. If we put 20s into quarters, we're dividing it by 4. So a quarter of 20 is 5. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Next one, what is 750 as a Roman numeral? I'm going to keep these ones in because we're studying the Romans at the moment. So remember, D is 500, okay? And then we need 2 other hundreds to make the 700. So 500, 600, 700. So DCC. 50 is L. And that's it, okay? So 750 is DCCL. Question 4, when we have a look at this number sequence, the numbers are going down in sevens. So we've got 84, 77, 70, 63. The next one after that should be 56. Question 5, 2 times 12 is 24. Then we have a look over here. I've got question 6, 49 divided by 7 is 7. What is 15 centimeters in millimeters? There are 10 millimeters to every centimeter, so we times this number by 10. So our answer is 150 millimeters. The next question, we've got 2,398 plus 3,401. When I look at that, I don't need to do any exchanging or anything like that. So I know that my answer, if I do 2,000 plus 3,000, that's 5,000. 300 plus 400 is 700. 90 plus 0 is 90. And 8 plus 1 is 9. So your answer is 5,799. For the next question, I'm going to do exactly the same. 5,000 take away 1,000 is 4,000. 600 take away 300 is 300. 90 take away 60 is 30. And 8 take away 3 is 5. So your answer is 4,335. And then the last question, question number 10. What is 36 divided by 12? And the answer is 3. Well done. If you got all them questions correct, you can pause the video to have a look at them answers. In the meantime, I'm going to now share my screen. There we are. Okay, so for today's lesson, you're going to be looking at understanding what a fraction is and then your steps to success. Can you tell someone what a fraction is, okay, what it looks like, and then we're going to be able to write down what a fraction is. Oh, what's going on? Let's jump to something else. There we are, that's better. Okay. So just have a recap, okay? The numerator of a fraction is the number that's at the top, and it shows you how many parts that we are specifically looking at in that whole. So for example, if you cut an orange into 4 pieces, then you said, can you show me 3 pieces? 3 segments of orange, a total of 4. Denominator is the bottom part of the number, and that shows us how many equal parts the whole is divided into. If you took a whole number, let's say 10, and you divided it into twos, okay, you would have 5 parts, wouldn't you? So that's how many parts you divide it into. A unit fraction is when the numerator is 1, and a non-unit fraction is when the numerator is greater than 1. Okay, so what is a fraction? Take a minute to think about a definition as to what you think a fraction could be, and how would you describe it? You may pause the video here, but don't take too long. Don't take 30 seconds to have a think about what a fraction is. So a fraction, in the simplest of terms, shows us a certain amount of parts of one whole. And that whole could be any number. It can be any value, okay? But a fraction is showing us an amount of that whole that has been split into parts. So let's have a look at this. Let's have a look and see how we understand how we would write a fraction. So you can see here that we have a picture, a shape, and we have triangles all joined up together. First of all, okay, we need to find out how many parts we have in total. So our whole here, okay, our whole has been divided up into 5 parts. So I'm going to draw this onto the board for you. I'll make myself a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on. So this is the shape. That is my whole shape there, okay? And we've divided it into our parts there, okay? Into different parts. How many parts do we have in total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my whole is now into 5 equal parts. And that is what we write as our denominator, okay? That's how many parts our whole has been divided up into. Oh, jumping ahead. Next, okay, we need to see how many are shaded. Now in our question here, the middle one is shaded in here. So I'm going to shade that one in on my whiteboard as well, okay? Now, this shaded area represents our numerator. So in this question, we can see that our shape has been divided into 5 parts, our denominator, and we're looking at 1 part of that whole. This 1 part makes up a whole. So 1 is our numerator, and this is a unit fraction, of course. So now our fraction here is basically telling us what we can see here. And it tells us that we've got 1 part that makes up 5 in total. Okay, so we've got a shape, and we know that our shape has been divided into 5 parts, and we're looking at just 1 of them. This 1 part represents 1 part of 5 that make up 1 whole. I know it gets a bit confusing, but that's what a fraction is. So we've taken our shape, we've divided it into 5 parts, we've shaded in 1 of them. So now when we describe this picture, we can say as a fraction, it's showing 1, okay, 1 shaded out of 5 total. So this is now where it's your turn, okay? So what I would like you to do is the following. Can you please try to draw out these shapes if you can? If not, you can just write down the fractions for these parts. You may find it helpful to draw the shape out. You don't have to, but it may be helpful. You can pause the video whilst you do them questions. Okay, so welcome back. We're going to look at our first shape here, the rectangle that is split into 5, well, our rectangle here. So I'm going to quickly draw it out and copy it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 3 of them are shaded in. Now I need to write a fraction for that shape. Okay, how many parts have we divided it into? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's our denominator. And how many are shaded in? 3. So that one is 3 out of 5. Well done. let's have a look at our square. So our square, let's have a look at it. How many parts has it been divided up into? 4. So that's our denominator. And then how many are shaded in? 3. That's our numerator. Well done. And for our circle, our last one, a bit tricky to this one, but there we go. Give it a go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, mine's not the best, but there we go. So you're going to shade it in. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in total, when you count it up, there are 7 parts, and there are 4 that are shaded in. So as a fraction, that's 4/7. Well done if you got them correct. Now, sometimes we can do it in reverse. So here we're actually given the fraction, and we needed to read it correctly to shade in the correct amount of parts. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my pen ready, okay, and I'm going to, maybe I'll use a highlighter, that may be easier, okay, and I'm going to get ready to shade in my shapes. Now, the denominator says 6, so let's check that our shape is into 6 parts. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so that is our denominator. Now the numerator is what we need to focus on here, because the numerator is saying that we need to show 5 out of 6. Okay, so that means we need to shade in 5 parts out of the total 6 that we have. So let's shade them in. 1, and it doesn't matter which ones you do, just make sure you do the correct amount. 2, 3, 4, 5, and there we go. And it's that simple, okay? And now we've used that fraction to actually display what it looks like on a shape. So now it's your turn. Shade in these correctly. You may need to draw these out, or if you're struggling to draw them out, maybe draw a shape that you do know and show the fraction there. Okay, let's get back to it then. Let's go through the answers very quickly. So here, we don't need to worry about the denominator. It's the numerator that we're looking at. It tells us 5, so that means we need to shade in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 8. And here, it says 1 out of 6, so we just need to shade in 1 out of 6. And that's it. Couldn't be simpler, could it? So there we are. Now, your independent work for today, for challenge number 1, I want everyone to write a definition for each of the following. Can you write a definition for the numerator, and can you write a definition for the denominator? If you're struggling with that, why don't you draw it out for me, and then you can just say, this is the numerator, this is the denominator, this is what it means, and this is what this means, okay? So if you're struggling to write it out in words, maybe do it in picture. Here, you need to tick the shapes with 1/3 shaded. So to make it a bit easier for you, you could just write down the numbers, the letters. You don't have to draw the shapes out. And for part D, you need to draw 2D shapes to match the descriptions that are given below. Okay, and you've got 1 out of 5 are squares, 2 out of 5 are triangles, and 3 out of 5 have more than 3 sides. So draw 2D shapes to match the description. Okay. Okay, let's go through the answers. Remember, everyone should be doing this one. So for number 1, all you need to write basically for me is that the numerator is the top number of a fraction, and that tells us how many parts we're looking at. The denominator is the bottom number of a fraction, and that tells us how many parts we have in total, or how many parts our whole has been split into. For question 2, listen carefully. The shapes that have 1/3 shaded. So 1/3 as a fraction looks like this. 1/3. So we're looking for shapes that have been split into 3 parts, and we're looking for shapes that only have 1 color shaded in. So when we have a look at it, A has 4, so that's not it. B has, well, B is not even split into equal parts. So that is not correct because fractions are split into equal parts. So that doesn't count. C, we've got 3 squares looking the same, 1 shaded in. Give yourself a tick if you put C. And the same for D. We've got 3 squares, 1 of them shaded in. E, we have 3 circles. 1 of them is shaded in. Give yourself a tick. And for the next 2, F and G, they are not correct because 2 are shaded in for F, and for G, our denominator is 4. For our last question, you need to draw shapes, draw 2D shapes that match the description below. Okay, and I'm going to draw them on the board so you can see here. Okay, so for question number 1, D says, draw 2D shapes to match the description. 1/5 are squares. Okay, so let's draw my shape. Here's my shape of squares. And there's 5 of them there. 1/5 are, you can color in there. Okay. The next one, we've got 2/5 are triangles. Okay, so let's draw my triangles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2/5 of them are triangles. 1, 2, and then the last one, 3/5 have more. Oh no, sorry. Let's rewind the video. I've misread the question. Silly me. Right, here we go. Draw 2D shapes to map the description. 1/5 are squares. Okay, so in total, look at our denominators. We've got 5 shapes in total. 1/5 of these shapes are going to be a square. Right? There we go. There's my square. 2/5 are triangles. Okay, so 2/5 of my shapes have to be triangles. There's 2 triangles there. And then my final shape has to have 3/5 of my shapes have to have more than 3 sides. So I could have a rectangle, I could have a trapezium, and I could have a hexagon. So when we have a look at this all together, I've drawn 2D shapes to match the description below. I've got 5 shapes in total. How many are squares? 1 out of 5 of these are squares. How many of these are triangles? We've got 2 out of 5 of these shapes are triangles. And how many of these shapes have more than 3 sides? We have 3 out of 5. I apologize for getting that wrong at the beginning of this question. I misread it. But that is the correct answer. That's what I'm looking for here. Okay, so your shapes may differ to mine, especially towards the end. But all in all, that is what we are looking for. Am I screen sharing? Yes, I am. So I'm going to stop the screen share now. As always, if you want to check it out on Teams, write a message, see how you're getting on, post your work onto Tapestry. I will see you in the next video, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.